Türkiye has received a global outpouring of condolences and humanitarian aid in the wake of the devastating earthquakes that hit in February. And the Foreign Ministry says nearly every African country has offered solidarity and material support to help the victims. I'm Adeshewa Josh, and I'll be speaking to Mandla Mandela, the grandson of Nelson Mandela and a member of the South African Parliament. We'll discuss Africa's response to the earthquakes, the relationship that Türkiye has with the continent, and what Mandla is doing to keep his grandfather's legacy alive. Mandla Mandela, welcome to TRT World.
Thank you. It's good to be here in Turkey.
South Africa was the first African country to send both rescue and medical teams to Türkiye in the wake of the devastating earthquake that hit in February. Senegal, Nigeria, Burundi, and many other African countries have since responded in no particular order. How would you describe Africa's solidarity towards Türkiye?
Well, for us, Turkey has been one of the very supporting countries towards our cause as African countries. As you know, that Turkey is the #1 country in the world when it comes to humanitarian support right across the globe. And for us as South Africans and SADC region and the rest of the African continent have had good relationships with Turkey. And it was for us, when they were in a space of hardship, that we came together, NGOs right across South Africa, like Gift of the Givers, the African Muslim Agency, and many more came in support to ensure that they were able to donate whatever they were possible to put together in support of the devastating earthquake that both Turkey and Syria were able to experience. But we were moved as Africans to see a collective effort from the SADC region, from East Africa, Central Africa, West Africa, and the Maghreb region. They came together as a continent, speaking with one voice in support of the most needy of the people in Turkey. And we want, as South Africans and Africans at most, send our condolences to the bereaved families and to the Turkish government for their losses. And we want to wish those that managed to survive well. We've heard that His Excellency President Erdogan has made a commitment to rebuild their houses within 1 year for those that have been left devastated. And we will be rallying support and ensuring that in the interim, while they wait for their houses, we continue to give the necessary support that we can.
Would you say Africa's response in this situation, that collective response, was unprecedented? Or is it in any way, shape or form a reflection of Türkiye's generosity and diplomatic relations with the continent over the years?
It is absolutely a reflection of the relationship that we have had with Turkey as the African continent. I speak for one as a South African. I remember in 2018 when His Excellency President Erdogan came to South Africa during the BRICS summit, we were afforded an opportunity to meet with him. And having heard that I've reverted and embraced Islam, and I was telling him about the plight of our community in Mthatha, where His Excellency President Nelson Mandela is born, there is no proper Islamic facilities for us to make our prayers. He was moved by that and instructed Tika to build a mosque there. Today, I'm happy to say that phase 1 of that mosque in Mthatha has been completed by Tika, and they are now looking at doing phase 2 of that. So for us, it comes from a real sense of connection with Turkey. We speak about a country that we can truly measure its own support on the South Africa, but also on the entire African continent. It has been able to do a lot of work in ensuring that it uplifts rural communities in particular. They've got programs for children and for women, driven projects in Africa. I, for one, like projects that they do in regards of upliftment of young peoples, because we have, as a family, embraced education. My grandfather used to say that education is a weapon you can utilize to change the world. For me, as a traditional leader and as a chief in a rural part of South Africa, we regard education to be the only weapon you can alleviate poverty, and therefore have worked tirelessly in ensuring that we can be able to provide bursaries for students in our villages. I mean, one of our students that we have been giving bursaries to, out of 46 students, one of them is doing their second year PhD, and the other 6 are doing their masters. And this is what we want to see. And Turkey has been instrumental in supporting such youth. And we're saying that kids in Africa, in rural Africa, need to be global citizens. They need to learn international languages. They need to travel. And it was quite heartwarming for me to receive a message from a youth that I used to go to the Mandela School of Science and Technology, give talks and motivate these youth. And she says, "Chief, I just wanted to thank you." And I'm looking at the message and say, "But why are you thanking me?" She says, "You may have not noticed me. For 5 years I've been at the school and I've been listening to your motivational talks. Today I've just graduated with my honors at the Africa Leadership University in Rwanda." I say, a rural child from a rural village in South Africa has just graduated in Rwanda. And the world is opened for young peoples. And this is what we appreciate by the support we receive from Turkey as small rural communities, that they come and they touch lives, they change lives. And when they were in such a situation, we felt the need to rise up to the occasion. And we are moved as Africans that we were able, as a collective, to come together to mobilize resources and give back. And giving back is just what was able to move us and bring us together as a people to say that Turkish people are in need now in this devastating moment. And we applaud all South Africans, people from the SADC region, from the greater continent, that rallied together and contributed to supporting the victims of these earthquakes.
Amazing. So you've been talking a lot about your grandfather, the great Nelson Mandela. And whenever his name comes up in any forum around the world, his name is associated very often with human rights, liberation, and social justice. And many of your work embodies that too. Tell us more about what you, Mandla, is doing to keep your grandfather's legacy alive.
Well, I lived with my grandfather under the same roof. I met my grandfather in prison, in Paulsmoor prison, as a 9-year-old, and came to really learn firsthand from his own experiences. I loved his storytelling. Every experience he had in life was a lesson for us. It shaped the people that we became today. I'm proud to say that having had all these years, when my grandfather was in prison, I never thought of a day that he would be released. Then he was released, and I thought, oh, he's only released because he's old and he's frail. He's probably not going to live long. 4 years later, he became a state president. We never thought that he would finish a term. He finished his term. I spent 23 years with my grandfather as a free man, learning from him. And I could say that there are chapters in Madiba's life that you can first and foremost see him as a traditional boy growing up in the traditional rural settings, being a cattle herder, looking after his father's cattle, and how he embraced his traditions. But then there's Madiba going into missionary schools and being educated. There's Madiba getting into struggle and being a student activist at Forte, which he was suspended and expelled for leading a hunger strike. And then there's Madiba joining and forming the ANC Youth League in 1944 with leaders like Anton Lembede and Ashley Pitamda. Then Madiba became a revolutionary. He fought for our struggle for liberation. And this is a chapter that most in the imperialist West do not speak about, that Madiba fought for our liberation. It was only in that fight that he embraced the spirit of forgiveness. Once he had won his freedom and realized that we have now negotiated our release, his comrades were all released after serving over 25 years in prison. He was the last of the lot to be released. And therefore, these emotions, these experiences have built character in me, have shaped my own understanding of who this man was. And I always used to remind him that in this house, at home, you are not a president, you are my grandfather. And I enjoyed that relationship. And this is why, for me, when I sum up who he is after serving 67 years of his life serving humanity, I know that Madiba's voice sat with the oppressed people throughout the globe. And this is why we continue to utilize his name in being vocal and speaking out for the oppressed peoples around the world.
Not just in Africa, I see.
Yes. And I would say that for us, particularly Africa, we have to look at Western Sahara if we are truly interested in decolonizing Africa.
Mandla Mandela, thanks for speaking to TRT World.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be with you today.